Penn State's Kappa Delta Rho has been suspended. This after police say the group created a secret Facebook page where users shared photographs of mostly naked women without their consent.
It appears that they were passed out or sleeping.
According to police, the private Facebook page had nearly 150 members.
At the University of Oklahoma, members of a veteran frat have taken a chance about hanging those of a different race from trees. At Penn State University, another frat has taken great pride in posting pictures of passed out women in order to celebrate their sexual triumphs. There's plenty of irresponsibility to go around at the moment on American college campuses, and maybe it's time to ask who the real enablers are. So let's break it down. Welcome back to MidPoint, veteran broadcast journalist and founder of JaneUnchained.com, the irrepressible Jane Velez-Mitchell. And we're also joined by senior writer for Newsweek, who authored a no-holds-barred column on the issue. Alexander Nazaryan joins us. I thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Alex, I'm going to start with you because you wrote this first article here saying it is time for fraternities to go. Wait a minute. Isn't that lumping everybody in then under one roof, and maybe there are some good things about frats?
Well, what are those things? I just can't think of any, and I was in one. So I'm not, of course, the vast majority of fraternity members are not rapists, racists, misogynists. I fully acknowledge that.
However, what did you see when you were in a frat, Alexander? What did you see firsthand?
A lot of anti-intellectual, self-destructive behavior that has no place on the American college campus.
Like what? Specifically what?
A lot of hard drinking, just a lot of immaturity, a lot of men being boys. I saw a lot of men being boys. I saw a lot of the gender interactions were juvenile and just horrific. And to me, it's the system that's guilty, not any one house at any one campus. The whole system makes it possible for these bad seeds to thrive.
Now, when you're talking about the system, aren't you talking about the administrations that are involved at colleges across the country who let fraternities and sororities get away with this right under their nose?
Sororities and fraternities are essentially designed to get away with this. Of course, administrators are at fault, but they're at fault not for having allowed this to go on for so long without saying, you know what, you've had your fun.
Wait a minute. Let me just see if I'm right. You're saying the administrations are not at fault?
No, they are, but not for exactly what you said.
Okay, let me bring in Jane here into the conversation right now. Jane, what do you think? Because I got to be very honest with you. I've been around colleges a long time, and I've seen administrations basically walk away from this, and they know what's going on because they want to make sure those frats and those sororities, all those wonderful graduates, come back and give them money down the road.
Yeah, they don't want to scare the parents off. They don't want to scare the applicants off. It's just like the rape crisis on college campuses around the country. It's a see no evil, hear no evil policy because they don't want to dust up problems that might scare away money. When you see this kind of dysfunction, follow the money. But I agree with your other guests. I think it's official. Frat life on college campuses around the country is completely out of control. We've gone from Animal House to Lord of the Flies. They've become breeding grounds of intolerance, racism, sexual degradation of women. I mean, my God, this was not just the frat that had this alleged private Facebook page. These were women in humiliating sexual positions, naked, passed out, and it wasn't a couple of people. According to reports that I've read, up to 144 individuals had access to one of these pages. I mean, this is rampant degeneracy.
Okay, then I got about 40 seconds left before we take a break and come back. So, Jane, I got about 40 seconds here. Real quick from you then, Jane. How do you then at least start to stop the degeneracy? Because no one is doing it. No one's even trying.
Well, I went to college and I didn't hear anything about frats and sororities. I went to NYU. I focused on reading, writing, arithmetic, and I learned values, and I don't think I suffered as a result of not being involved in a sorority and not meeting guys from fraternities. It was just fine, thank you. I think we've got to put these under control and maybe shut them down until we can figure out how to keep them from becoming hotbeds of intolerance and ugliness.
Okay, stop right there because because that's a good point to come back. Intolerance and ugliness. We're going to talk about that after the break because we are far from done here. We're going to break and return with a look then at the other side of the Greek system. We mentioned this just a little bit here. Maybe we need to stop painting them all with the same broad and destructive brush, but maybe we have come to a point when that is what is necessary in order to cure this disease. We'll get to that and much more when MidPoint continues. Break out the Greek robes. Let's get back to work. Joined once again by veteran broadcast journalist Jane Velez-Mitchell and Newsweek senior writer Alex Nazaryan. Jane, I'm going to start with you here, and let's talk about this Greek system here. People are going to come right out, and they've already said it. What's wrong with it? Because the Greek system, while some people completely disagree with it, it does good things. It does a lot of charitable things. So it's not fair to say blow them all out simply because of a couple of Cretans.
No, but they need a house cleaning, a darn good house cleaning. And what we're seeing here, Ed, is the intersection of culture and technology. Because frat members and frat boys may have been getting girls drunk since time immemorial, but now there's Facebook pages with women, young women, naked, and God only knows what. I probably couldn't even repeat the descriptions of these embarrassing, humiliating sexual positions these passed out girls were found on in this Facebook page. And maybe there have been frats singing racist songs for decades, but now, thanks to this technology called a cell phone, it's going viral and the entire world has seen it. So what's happening is technology is exposing the underbelly of frats, which is inherently an elitist system. The whole premise of a frat is, I can get in, you can't. That makes me better than you.
Okay.
And it's totem pole thinking that we've really got to re-examine.
Let me stop you right there because that's a good point. Alexander, let me come to you. Is that, and you were in a frat before, is that just it? Are we just looking at a system that says our color, our race, our sex, that's it, and simply because we have money, you can't be a part of it?
Well, I think Jane's characterization is correct. It's a fundamentally elitist, exclusionary system that has its own internal codes, its own morals that are often at odds with the morals of society at large or the university to which the fraternity belongs. And it's very hard to monitor what happens in that house because it's so insular, because it's so closed off to the rest of the campus.
Well, when we talk about being insular, and again, isn't it on, this is what I have a lot of problem with. It's on the campus. Many times the buildings are owned by certain individuals. Many times the campuses give the buildings a right to be there. I mean, isn't there something that the universities need to be doing here, though, Alex?
I think one suggestion that I like is making all Greek houses co-ed.
Wait a minute. Do you really think that would work with? I mean, I can see Jane probably just shaking her head right now. Are you serious, really, Alex? You don't think that would work?
Well, if it were a compulsory, if Penn State said every house has to be 50% male, 50% female, I think that would certainly be much harder to engage in this kind of ridiculous behavior if there were women living in the house and part of the organization.
Jane, your reaction to that?
I agree that there needs to be more diversity in this frat.
Okay.
I don't think you would have had the racist song being belted out had there been African-American members of the frat on that bus. And from what I've read, that particular chapter has not had a lot of African-American members, maybe just a handful, and reportedly, I'm not there, so I don't know for sure, but reportedly none at the present time. So I think diversity has a tendency to reduce intolerance because it's a lot easier to sing a racist song when you're not insulting a person right in front of you. And so I think that that's really fundamentally what has to change. I don't think fraternities are in sync with our culture today.
Okay, wait just one sec there, Jane. You just hit a point. You just hit a point. I've only got 30 seconds left. Alex, to you, 15 seconds. Isn't that the bigger part of the problem here? It's the culture before they even reach college that makes it seem okay to these people.
They're not a 21st century. They're not 21st century organizations. They just have no place in the modern university.
Okay, but again, I want to come back to, isn't it the fact that many people come to the universities and they don't have a proper sense of decency to begin with? Alex?
That's a very, very difficult question. And moral education is something that a lot of universities don't do for one reason or another. I don't think fraternities help.
Okay, 10 seconds, Jane. Go for it. Last word.
Colleges should be about learning, not about learning that you're better than somebody else and that gives you permission to degrade them.
An excellent
Period.
last word. Jane Velez-Mitchell from JaneUnchained.com. Alexander Nazaryan, thank you so much for joining us. We'll do it again. MidPoint will continue.